Peter Parker. Peter Parker enters Brand New Day carrying the weight of a truth no one else remembers. Doctor Strange's spell at the end of No Way Home is the in-universe reason his friends no longer know who he is, erasing every personal bond Peter once fought to preserve. MJ does not remember their love, Ned no longer sees him as his best friend, and to the Avengers, he no longer exists. What had been a network of allies and mentors is gone, leaving him stripped of resources and protection. This aligns with the film's reported back-to-basics approach. Peter, without Stark's tech or backup, navigating life completely alone. That shift shows up in the most grounded way possible. Set photos of Tom Holland wearing a Delmar's Deli shirt point to Peter working shifts there, returning audiences to the same bodega first seen in Homecoming. It's a vivid reminder of what survival now means for him, holding down a simple job, scraping together enough to get by, and quietly carrying the memories of cosmic battles that no one else can share. His new life is not about high-tech suits or intergalactic wars. It's about existing in the world unnoticed, a young man blending into the crowd while still carrying the history of Spider-Man on his shoulders. Yet the hardest part is not losing allies, but watching people closest to him live on without him. Zendaya and Jacob Batalon are confirmed to return as MJ and Ned, but their characters no longer remember Peter. Reports suggest their roles in Brand New Day may be limited, functioning more as emotional stakes than central partners. To Peter, every shared laugh and every moment of sacrifice remains real. To them, he is now a stranger. That dynamic creates a quieter, more personal tension than any villain could manufacture. His greatest challenge is standing near the very people who defined his story and realizing they no longer recognize him. This setup gives the film an emotional weight that sets it apart from earlier Spider-Man stories. The focus is less on Peter's power than on whether he can endure an existence where his past has been erased and his present leaves him isolated. But amid that loss, the promise of new connections looms larger. If Brand New Day dismantles Peter's old bonds, then the mystery lies in who might step forward to fill that space in his life. And one of the biggest unknowns centers on Sadie Sink's role in the film. Sadie Sink. The mystery surrounding Sadie Sink's casting in the upcoming Spider-Man chapter, tentatively titled Brand New Day, has become the ultimate MCU guessing game. While her involvement was confirmed months ago, Marvel's redacted approach to her character has sent the rumor mill into overdrive. Given Sink's trajectory from Stranger Things breakout to a powerhouse dramatic lead, it's clear Marvel isn't just casting a face, they are casting a future. For a long time, the speculation stayed grounded in Peter Parker's immediate social circle. Three names frequently top the list. Mayday Parker. Suggested by reporter Jeff Snyder, this theory posits Sink as Peter's daughter from an alternate future. While a massive swing for Peter's current development, it would instantly tether the film to the multiverse. Carly Cooper. A Brand New Day comic staple. As a police officer and grounded love interest, Carly fits the back-to-basics, street-level tone Marvel seems to be chasing. Gwen Stacy. Until recently, Gwen was the safe bet. Insiders like Christian Harloff have noted a pretty good guarantee that Sink is stepping into the iconic role. Narratively, it's a perfect pivot. With MJ's memory of Peter erased, Gwen represents a fresh start that mirrors Peter's classic college-era growth. However, a seismic shift in the rumor mill has introduced a fourth, much more powerful possibility. Sadie Sink as the MCU's Jean Grey. As Marvel begins to weave the X-Men into the primary timeline, fan casting and insider whispers have converged on Sink for the role of the legendary telepath. If true, this changes the entire complexion of the film. Instead of a traditional love interest, Sink's Jean Grey could serve as the first major bridge between Spider-Man and the emerging mutant population. Moving from the emotional anchor of a Gwen Stacy to the unlimited potential of a Phoenix-bound Jean Grey would signal that Brand New Day is much more than a street-level reset. It's the beginning of a new era of team-ups. Whether she's the girl next door or the most powerful mutant on Earth, Sadie Sink's mystery role is the pivot point for Spider-Man's next chapter. If she is indeed playing Jean Grey, Peter Parker isn't just looking for a new girlfriend. He's about to find himself at the center of the X-Men's arrival. The Osborn rumors and Joe Keery. Rumors now point toward the Osborn family finally stepping into the MCU spotlight, with industry chatter connecting Joe Keery to the role of Harry Osborn. Though Marvel has not confirmed this, multiple outlets with credible track records have reported the link. For Spider-Man fans, the Osborn name carries enormous weight. In the comics, Harry is far from a one-note supporting character. He begins as Peter's closest ally during their college years, but becomes entangled in betrayal, obsession, and the burden of his family's legacy. Including him in Brand New Day would add more than just another student in Peter's circle. It would reintroduce one of the most consequential relationships in his history. Harry's story always unfolds under the influence of his father, Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin and one of Spider-Man's most infamous enemies. To date, the MCU has deliberately avoided weaving the Osborn family into its sprawling, interconnected stories, focusing instead on new villains and directions. That makes the timing more significant. If Harry does appear, it would likely be to plant long-term seeds rather than to immediately resurrect Green Goblin conflict. Reports suggest Norman is not expected in this chapter, but simply positioning Harry opens the door for future exploration of that legacy. Casting Joe Keery would reinforce that approach. Known for balancing charm with underlying complexity, Keery could capture Harry's outward charisma while hinting at the troubled air beneath. His on-screen presence as a peer to Tom Holland's Peter would give the character room to evolve, not just as the son of a looming villain, but as someone who has to earn Peter's trust before the darker family themes take hold. This would align neatly with the film's college setting, where Peter, isolated and rebuilding, needs new friendships, even as the audience understands those bonds may not last. Other Spider-Man adaptations have tackled Harry from different angles. James Franco in Sam Raimi's trilogy, and Dane DeHaan in The Amazing Spider-Man films both took on the role, but those versions concluded with their respective series. Neither actor is connected here, leaving Brand New Day with the opportunity to reinterpret Harry from scratch, rather than inherit unfinished arcs. The MCU is free to chart a slower and perhaps more devastating course, making Harry a genuine friend long before hints of inevitable betrayal. Nothing is official yet, but the very rumor of Keery as Harry has already raised expectations. It suggests that Peter's personal ties may ripple outward into larger legacies, blending the promise of sincerity with the threat of tragedy. And while that casts long shadows over Peter's social life, their development points to an alliance far more volatile than a friendship tested, one that forces Spider-Man to share the stage with someone whose methods challenge his core beliefs. The Punisher's unexpected alliance. Why would Frank Castle, a man known for ending fights with lethal finality, appear in a Spider-Man story centered on survival and restraint? That question defines one of Brand New Day's boldest choices, placing the Punisher at Peter Parker's side. Jon Bernthal is confirmed to reprise Frank Castle, marking his first official appearance inside the MCU after the cancellation of his Netflix series. This is more than a casting decision. It formally weaves a Netflix-era character into the broader Marvel film universe. Production sources suggest the timeline may follow Daredevil, Born Again, and even a rumored Punisher special, pointing to Marvel's larger plan for a street-level sub-franchise set in New York. The intrigue is not just that Castle returns, but how Marvel reshapes him for this context. Kevin Feige has stated this Punisher will arrive with a different tonality, ensuring a version consistent with a PG-13 film. Viewers should not expect the same graphic firefights that defined his television run. Instead, the focus shifts to his discipline, his military background, and his reputation as the one who refuses to quit until the job is done. This makes him less a raw instrument of violence and more a hardened survivor whose methods remain controversial even when toned down. The real tension lies in what happens the moment his path crosses Peter's. Spider-Man is famously committed to sparing lives, while Castle measures victory and finality. The synopsis calls Castle an unexpected ally, and that wording suggests necessity will bind them, not agreement. The question becomes whether they can coexist long enough to face a threat that forces their alliance, with their clashing moral codes simmering under every move, and just when that partnership sets the stage for unpredictable consequences. Another character's inclusion raises even bigger questions about how far this story will go. Bruce Banner's Hulk. Bruce Banner's return as Hulk in Brand New Day is one of the biggest surprises of the confirmed cast. Mark Ruffalo is officially back, but what version of Hulk we'll actually see remains unclear. The film's gritty, street-level premise makes his inclusion unexpected, since Hulk's presence usually signals large-scale destruction rather than small-scale crime. Two main theories dominate the speculation. The first is that Banner continues as Professor Hulk, the controlled blend of intellect and strength last seen in Avengers, Endgame, and She-Hulk, attorney at law. This version could serve as a much-needed mentor figure for Peter, someone who provides scientific guidance in areas Peter no longer has support. With Tony Stark gone and Strange out of the picture, Banner's expertise in radiation and biology could give Peter new tools to face enhanced threats during his college years without handing him gadgets or shortcuts. The second theory, supported by production clues, suggests the return of the Savage Hulk. Glasgow filming reportedly depicted large-scale destruction scenes, far more chaotic than Banner calmly offering advice. If those sequences are tied to the film, they signal that Spider-Man and Punisher may need to contain an out-of-control Hulk. And if Rhino is indeed present, something set photos later hint at, then a Hulk rampage could escalate a street-level clash into a citywide catastrophe. That unpredictability is at the heart of Hulk's inclusion. He could be a stabilizing force for Peter's growth, or he could embody the uncontrollable chaos Peter fears most. Either path forces Spider-Man to adapt in ways he hasn't had to since being cut off from his old allies. By mixing Banner's intellect with Hulk's volatility, Brand New Day signals that even within a personal grounded story, violence on a catastrophic scale always lurks just beneath the surface. And just as the possibility of Hulk's devastation reframes the danger, another figure from Peter's past emerges, one who has waited years for the chance to finally strike. Mac Gargan's Scorpion. Michael Mando is officially returning as Mac Gargan in Brand New Day, this time stepping out of the shadows to serve as one of Spider-Man's central antagonists. For fans who remember that post-credits tease in Homecoming, where Gargan hinted at his grudge against Spider-Man while speaking with Adrian Toomes in prison, this payoff arrives 7 years later. What once looked like a passing setup is now confirmed to evolve into a direct physical threat, rewarding that long wait with a villain who feels both personal and dangerous. In the years since Homecoming, Gargan's anger has only grown. He was once a mid-level criminal chasing profits in the weapons trade, but his obsession hardened while locked away. In the comics, Gargan becomes truly dangerous after donning the Scorpion suit, a mechanical system amplifying his strength, speed, and savagery. Most iconic is the Scorpion-like tail, capable of brutal strikes or toxic stings. Translating those elements to the MCU makes him far more than a thug. He's a relentless street-level predator built to overwhelm Peter in both brute force and endurance. The timing also escalates the stakes. Peter Parker has no reliance on Stark's gear or Avengers' backup, so squaring off against Scorpion exposes his toughest vulnerability. He is alone. Gargan, importantly, retains memory of their encounter, since Doctor Strange's spell only removed Peter's identity, not Spider-Man's existence. That creates an uneven fight, where the villain remembers every slight while the hero stands without his former allies. There may be even more in store. Michael Mando has shared Instagram posts featuring comic art of Gargan not only as Scorpion, but also bound to the Venom symbiote. Combine that with the lingering fragment of symbiote left in Earth 616 at the end of No Way Home, and a future Gargan-Venom arc looks highly plausible, even if unconfirmed. For now, his reintroduction signals Marvel's intent to expand existing stories, but the wider danger grows beyond Scorpion alone. The street-level syndicate, lesser villains who could define Peter's new world. Beyond headline names, Brand New Day appears to revolve around a syndicate of street-level villains working in unison. Rather than focusing on one mastermind, production reports point toward a gang war dynamic designed to overwhelm Peter through sheer numbers. This matches the stripped-down version of Spider-Man the MCU is positioning here. No Avengers backup, no advanced Stark tech, just instinct, agility, and determination against wave after wave of organized threats. The strongest evidence comes from Glasgow filming, where eyewitnesses described and photographed a rhino-shaped vehicle prop mounted onto an armored tank during a chase sequence. That detail makes the inclusion of Rhino highly probable, and insiders suggest he will be reimagined with a suit of mechanical armor instead of the exaggerated creature design seen in Sony's past iterations. His brute force role would make him the Syndicate's enforcer, the raw muscle tearing through any obstacle. Complementing him are insider-reported members named by Daniel R.P.K., Tombstone, Tarantula, Boomerang, and Ramrod. Tombstone stands out as both strategist and powerhouse, his durability and underworld stature framing him as a natural leader. Tarantula adds speed and agility, a martial artist designed to match Spider-Man's acrobatics. Boomerang injects chaos with his arsenal of trick weapons, forcing range fights on unpredictable terms. Ramrod rounds out the group with armored strength, representing the technological threat within the Syndicate's ranks. Put together, these villains present Peter with a gauntlet that demands adaptability on every level: close combat, aerial maneuvering, range defense, and tactical improvisation. The Syndicate's purpose is clear: highlight Spider-Man against an environment where danger comes not from cosmic invasions, but from the relentless grind of a criminal underworld. That pressure cooker tests whether he can endure as a solo hero, defined not by allies but by resilience. Yet the fact that so many familiar rogues may appear at once raises a larger question. If Brand New Day is framed at this scale, why would figures far above the street take interest in Peter's story? Yelena Belova and the wider MCU connection. Reports have linked Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova to Brand New Day, though neither Marvel nor Sony has confirmed her casting. If true, her role may be relatively small, potentially limited to a brief appearance or a post-credits scene, but even a short cameo could reshape how this film connects to the larger MCU. Yelena already has an established pedigree across Black Widow, Hawkeye, and the upcoming Thunderbolts, where she steps into the role once held by Natasha. Her career has moved between quiet, ground-level operations and government-backed missions, making her a flexible character who fits both spy thrillers and ensemble blockbusters. In that sense, she represents a bridge between Peter Parker's street-level struggles and the broader Avengers storylines, one that will continue into Avengers Doomsday. The simple possibility of her showing up adds a layer of unpredictability to a film otherwise focused on worn tenements, mob enforcers, and college classrooms. What makes the rumor compelling is how disruptive her presence would be to Peter's rebuilt life. He is scraping by with deli shifts and solitude, surrounded by enemies drawn from the criminal underworld. Dropping an elite operative like Yelena into that environment introduces a tension Peter cannot ignore, the reminder that no matter how small he tries to make his world, other forces always push him outward. If she did step onto the screen, even in a tag scene, it could point toward her evaluating Peter for something larger. Research and reporting have suggested the possibility that Yelena might serve as a recruiter figure, testing Peter for a role in conflicts well beyond New York. That idea remains speculation, but it frames exactly how rumors can shift audience expectations. And in the same way her potential cameo has fueled ongoing talk, another supposed addition to Brand New Day captured fan attention for months before insiders drew a very different conclusion. The Mr. Negative rumor. One of the most persistent rumors tied to Brand New Day centered on Mr. Negative. For months, fans were convinced he would appear, largely because early set photos featured tank-like vehicles moving through city streets during filming. Online speculation quickly connected these props to the Inner Demons, the heavily armed gang that serves Mr. Negative in comics and video games. The reasoning seemed to add up. Mysterious tanks plus a rumored mob storyline felt like clear signs of Mr. Negative making his way into the MCU. Momentum only grew as images circulated across forums and social media. The character had already built a strong following after being featured as the primary villain in the Spider-Man PS4 game, and many believed Marvel was seizing that popularity for the big screen. A mastermind with both mystical powers and criminal resources would have added variety compared to a syndicate built mostly around enforcers and street fighters. For a time, it appeared almost certain that Mr. Negative was orchestrating events from the shadows. However, credible insiders later dismantled those expectations. Daniel RPK and Alex P of the Cosmic Circus both reported that Mr. Negative is not part of Brand New Day, with no actor cast and no storyline written for him. They also clarified that the supposed Inner Demons were never in the script, and the tanks used on set were unrelated to his mythology. In other words, the entire rumor was built on misinterpreted production elements rather than real narrative clues. This correction highlights how quickly speculation can detach from reality and rewrite fan assumptions. With Mr. Negative out, expect Brand New Day to stay grounded in street-level foes rather than mystical crime lord elements. That focus keeps the spotlight on the villains already confirmed or credibly rumored, sharpening the foundation for Peter Parker's future. So which of these do you hope becomes reality? Comment below and subscribe for our breakdown when casting is confirmed.